Joe Joyce getting the job done against Christian Hammer last week. We brought you live commentary from Wembley. And there's a few of those dulcet tones from us calling that fight last week. And you heard him there in the post-fight interview where he says it's only a matter of time before I become world champion. Just to give you a little bit of a landscape of where everything's at in the heavyweight division. We know August 20th, you've got Usyk versus Anthony Joshua. 3 belts on the line there. Usyk's defending his unified titles. Tyson Fury says he's retired. He's not. He's currently the WBC champion, so he sat on his couch enjoying a little bit of life at the moment. Hopefully, we'll see him again once August the 20th is done. But what does that mean for the rest of the heavyweight division? Well, Joe Joyce is currently the number 1 with the WBO. He's the number 2 with the WBC. So if Tyson Fury did vacate that belt, Joe Joyce will be called to fight Deontay Wilder for the WBC championship. The number 2 with the WBO is Joe Parker. So if there was an eliminator called in that particular sanctioning body, that would be the fight to push forward to become Alexander Usyk's mandatory for the WBO championship. So he's close. He's very, very close. And performances like he put in last weekend won't do him any harm whatsoever, getting the stoppage within 4 rounds against the guy that everybody knows. Okay, not necessarily a level of opponent, but a guy that everybody knows. Now, what do we do next with Joe Joyce? Because that's the big question. You come off the back of that, you've got a division that's locked down probably for the next 12 months. He can't sit around, and he's got to fight a level of opponent that keeps the juices flowing and keeps him relevant in the conversation. Now, there's loads of names, tons of names that you can throw around for Joe Joyce. The conclusions that I come away with last weekend, Joe Joyce gets hit very, very easily. Very easily indeed. We've seen it on several occasions. Where he gets hit, he eats punches, he walks forward, he breaks the heart of his opponent, he keeps coming down, and then he ends up getting the finish. What I want to see, and my conclusions from last weekend are this, I want to see Deontay Wilder hit Joe Joyce clean in the face just to see if he can take it. And if he can take it, my word, you got a fight on your hands.
Well, I'd like to see him use his jab like he did against Daniel Dubois a little bit and not just kind of put his face there. And look, Joe takes 1 to give 2, doesn't he? And in the end, he takes none and gives 3. And then he takes none and gives 4. And then he stops his opponents.
Think about that first round. The first round, you've made the fight. I mean, Deontay Wilder will do what he's doing in the press conference. Joe will be Joe. But when that fight starts and that first 3 minutes, we're all waiting for it. And Wilder lands one clean right down the pipe. And Joe Joyce juggernauts it, all of a sudden the arena will erupt.
Oh, yeah, there is that. But I think if you think about Deontay Wilder early on in fights, he inches forward with his front foot, with his left foot, and he looks to line up that right hand. He's always looking to get into position, isn't he, for the big right hand, the long straight right hand and the left hook. He hasn't got a bad jab himself. Joe showed against Daniel Dubois that he was able to evade that right hand of Daniel Dubois, who's a massive puncher as well, let's not forget. Arguably, along with Wilder, one of the biggest punchers out there as well. And Anthony Joshua, by the way. So I think Joe would fight in a different way, but I completely understand what you mean. Like when you see the way I always describe it is, you know, when you see the 2 silhouettes dancing together, you do see that huge right hand coming, and Joe is not difficult to hit. He's very, very hittable, but like you say, he's got this incredible chin, and if he could take that punch, you could just see him breaking the heart of Deontay Wilder. But other than that, as you rightly say, Ad, Deontay Wilder ranked Tyson Fury, the WBC champion. The other 3 belts, of course, WBA, WBO and IBF, are taken up August the 20th. Alexander Usyk, just to reset. Alexander Usyk against Anthony Joshua, the sequel, of course, to their first fight. Joshua beaten on points at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium last September. Daniel Dubois sitting there as the WBA regular champion to potentially challenge one of the winners. And Michael Hunter, the number 1 challenger. We would have seen him against Hughie Fury for that WBA title. That was a really good fight that went down. But outside Deontay Wilder at number 1 and Joe Joyce at number 2, with Tyson Fury kind of in recess retirement, but not really with the WBC title, and it's really disappointing because it was such a big fight. Joseph Parker's number 3 with the WBC, and that fight, if it happens now, won't happen till the autumn. Frank Sanchez is number 4. I wouldn't mind seeing Joe fight him, but what's the point? Andy Ruiz is 5. Dilian Whyte is 7. Now, that's a fight we'd all watch later this summer, isn't it? If they want to keep Joe active and they want to sell, and Dilian, I think is a free agent. I don't think he's necessarily signed, or maybe he is signed with Sky. I know that Ben Shalom and Boxer and Sky have been talking, but Dilian Whyte and Joe Joyce is a humdinger of a fight. That sells out the O2 Arena for me.
I think it has to be something on that magnitude, because you brought up a couple of good points there. Frank Sanchez, for example, is a handful, and therefore doesn't have the clout, the name, for the next fight for Joe Joyce, because it's high risk, low reward, in my opinion. Because if he wins, people just go, well, I never knew who that guy was.
He's a small, elusive, clever Cuban heavyweight, isn't he?
He's very good.
And he may well win a world title.
I agree. I think he's very, very good. So from Joe Joyce's point of view, where he's at right now, the next fight has to be a fight of stature. It's got to be something that is a profile builder for him. Because, like you say, outside those top guys, he might be the best of the rest, but we've got to build him now to a situation where fans are actually bothered about buying a ticket for him.
If Tyson Fury doesn't come back, and I'm sure Frank Warren will tell us about this, Joe Joyce will be pushed to be mandatory for the WBO title because he's number one at the moment.
WBC.
No, but he's two, isn't he? Two with the WBC and number one.
If Tyson Fury doesn't come back, he vacates that title, then it's Wilder versus Joyce for the title.
Yeah, but also they can push the WBO route, can't they? They can try and make Joe Joyce mandatory for the WBO as well. They've got all these. This is why Frank Warren's in an extraordinary position with Tyson Fury, champion in recess retirement, as we call it, and I'm doing my fingers in inverted commas. Daniel Dubois sitting there as the WBA regular champion. And Joe Joyce, number one with the WBO, so he can be made mandatory. They can force that as mandatory as well. Yeah. Why wouldn't they? He's 14-0. Is it 14-0, 13 stoppages?
13, 12 stoppages,
Yeah, 13, 12. I mean, he's not put a foot wrong. He's beaten former world champions. He does it every time. He's exciting. So they've got, the
But in the interim, what do you do next for him?
Well, he's just fought, hasn't he? I mean, we were there last weekend.
But he's got a date. They've said September 24th. When he's
September
going to fight.
24th.
So what do we put there?
Well, I mean, I'd like it to be Joe Parker by then.
Yeah, same. I would.
I mean, that's a really good fight. Joe Parker really knows his way around the ring. He's obviously the former WBO champion. And, he's thereabouts. We know he's got a good team with Andy Lee. It's a fascinating setup. And it's a good fight. Am I picking a winner in that? I'm picking Joe Joyce.
Both two extremely athletic guys, big chins, can punch a bit.
It goes 12 rounds, that.
Yeah, I think it does.
It goes 12 rounds.
Yeah, I think it does. But magnitude of fight, I genuinely believe what you've just said is right. You've got
Dilian's
to have that
more exciting as a fight.
I agree.
Though. Dilian against Joe Joyce is a slightly more exciting fight.
I agree. I think if they can make that for September 24th, it might even be an easier fight to make. I don't know what Dilian's promotional situation is at the moment.
Does Dilian's left hook maybe put him away as well?
It connects with him. He hits him. Dilian won't have to go looking
for him.
Can
Joe Joyce knock out Dilian Whyte?
Yeah,
I think so. That for me, Dilian only knows one way to fight against these guys. I know that Tyson Fury outboxed him and befuddled him and knocked him out with the uppercuts, and it was a weird promotion for Dilian, and I'd like to have a chance to talk to Dilian a little bit more, and we spoke to Dean last week, and Dilian's working out the way to come back. But Parker, Wilder, or Whyte, and we're not taking anything less, are we?
No.